In a world where change is the only constant, Choumil stands at the forefront, guiding title professionals to not just grow their businesses, but to master the art of innovation. With every episode, you're handed the keys to unlock unparalleled growth and stay ahead of the curve. Get ready for a transformative journey.
Hello and welcome to the Title Agents Podcast, where we dive deep into the minds of industry leaders who are reshaping the real estate and title landscape. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Ryan Aprile, a seasoned entrepreneur and founder of Aprile Properties, which became a powerhouse in the Midwest real estate market. Now, Ryan is taking on a new challenge with his latest venture, Zanello, a company focused on revolutionizing title sales through cutting-edge digital systems while maintaining the human touch that builds lasting relationships. Get ready for an inspiring conversation about innovation, leadership, and the future of our industry. Welcome, Ryan.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, as we start, I would love to hear your life story. How, what shaped you, and your background, your history, and just get to give our audience a little peek on your life.
Sure. As you mentioned on the podcast, I had a real estate brokerage, a mortgage, a title company, insurance company, which I sold a couple of years ago, coming on 2 years ago. Prior to that, I began my real estate career in 2005 after a successful career in executive search on the supply chain manufacturing side of things. And so I learned a lot from that business that carried over into my real estate business. So I started as a real estate agent. Sponsored myself right out of the gates in 2005, built a small team, and then in around 2010, 2011, I decided I wanted to grow the real estate company and the businesses, so I pivoted from selling to working on the business, and scaled it from a handful of us to about 12 offices, selling over $1 billion of real estate annually, something I'm very proud of. And along the way, we got into the mortgage business, the title business, the insurance business. And so that's a brief little window of my history there.
That's awesome. What does that translate to transaction-wise, or what, $1 billion a year in revenue, just for our title audience?
I think it was around 22 we sold, 21. I think in 21 it was around 6,000. Transactions for the year. 7,000 transactions for just the real estate side of the business. Yeah. But then we obviously had the mortgage side, and then we had the title and insurance side as well.
Yeah. That's awesome. Very, very, very proud of your success. So the Aprile Properties became a powerhouse in the real estate market through a strong sales-driven culture. How do you instill a disciplined approach to sales within your team? And how do you ensure that this focus on sales excellence continues to honor the legacy of your company?
So, it's a great question. So, and I'm going to try to relate this to some of the audience members that are in the title industry about this as well. It's, we built it from scratch in terms of, I think it's almost easier to build than to recruit. One thing I'm really proud of is when we sold our company, approximately 80% of our individuals, our salespeople at the company, right? We're going to just talk about sales here for a minute. 80% of them, maybe a little more, started the career with us, and we coach and we train them up. And so there's a couple of really good books out there, The Toyota Way and E-Myth, and I'm sure books you've all heard before. And I really enjoy, especially given back my previous background in the supply chain manufacturing, I really appreciate the Toyota Way and the Toyota production system. And one of the things that drove me a little batty about sales is the lack of structure and the lack of visual flow, which they call Kanban, in the Toyota production system. And so what I started to do is I started one by one teaching. We started off with real estate agents, and then again I went to mortgage and title, teaching individuals. Here's our approach to selling. It's relationship based, and let's process and systematize the way you uh, either create or nurture or maintain relationships. And now it's 13, 14 years later, and we developed the system with it that companies are using, real estate mortgage and title companies are using. And a lot of people call it a CRM, and CRMs are kind of funny. Most CRMs today are marketing platforms. CRM stands for customer relationship management tool, customer relation management. There's no marketing in there. And I don't want to come across somebody who's anti-marketing. Marketing is important, and building a brand is important. But I think today's day, everybody's like 95% marketing and branding. They're forgetting the important part of the relationship. So what I did back then and over the course of 10 years and continue to do today is to try to keep people's eyes focused on the process of maintaining and nurturing very important relationships to your business.
That's awesome. Like one of the big knock on a lot of brokerages, especially to traditional brokerages, is the lack of training. And it's amazing that you focus on that training and recruiting new agents. Everybody wants that the mega agent, the producer that does a lot of has a big revenue attached to them, but it's extremely difficult to build from scratch. And can you give us a little step by step how do you go about it? And it's just a lot of patience, a lot of a long time, and also it's going to probably cost you a lot of money as well to invest in.
It is. I mean, but it is and it isn't. And so I think as we evolved as an organization, we then started dipping into the recruiting side of real estate, right? In title, and even mortgage for that point, it's almost easier to create than to recruit, quite honestly. So your question is how did we do it?
Right. High level, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's easier, again, especially for the listeners on the title side. It's almost easier and actually think more cost effective to build versus to recruit. It is, in the title side of business, customer service is incredibly important. And that's what we all do well, but we don't realize that that's a reactive versus a proactive approach. So we have to take a proactive approach to nurturing relationships. Customer service is only going to get so far. So we have to really streamline that. Back to your question, I did the same thing with the individuals that joined our company. I told on this real estate side of things is your network is your net worth. With it's an expression that's out there, and we
Amen.
Just, right. And so I was always teaching everybody these clays. Your network is your net worth. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And so I literally started off with little spreadsheets and helping people organize their database. I think one of the things that most salespeople do very poorly, and the cause of this is they get some business, they kind of go out and then they plateau, is they do terrible database management. Your database is your most valuable asset. I could prove to anybody who's in our business by sitting down, take any of their assets, and I could compare it to the cash flow that their business is producing, and then eventually get to realize, wow, I couldn't really put a number on my database like you put on my database, a 6+ figure cash flow coming from it. So I tried to visualize it coming from that Toyota production system, and we did visualize it. And that is a lot about what I do in our product Actionable, which we won't really get into, but it's about visualizing the process of contact relationship management. And so I just started by teaching individuals one-on-one, like good to great, what you can't track, you can't improve. And so we have to track our activities. We have the time block for continuous improvement. Again, the Toyota production system, right? Kaizen, right? We need the number one thing you have, and this is a culture we had at our company, the number one thing that you have to continually improve on is yourself, and really look within that is the way you're going to get the biggest results is managing, your internal controls versus external.
When you say visualize, are you talking more like bubble charts, or because I'm all about visuals?
Yeah.
I learn I can see things better clearly through like a visual than
Yeah.
kind of auditory or written.
I'm a visual person as well. And it's like, think of it as a flow chart, right? And think of it as a flow chart. And how are you flowing with the contacts in your database? Where is it? So in ours, we have like, right, I'll have you, Mo, right? And your information. I have notes on you and maybe information about your significant other or children or whatnot. However, on my first floor, when I have you, your contact information, I'll have hyperlinks to your social media pages, because a lot of things that people are doing right now is they're doing a lot of social media marketing and advertising. I think they're losing focus on the most powerful part of social media, is that people in your database are posting, and it's not about you, it's about them. Yes, we need to brand ourselves, and I understand the importance of that, but what is Mo posting about? What's important to Mo, right? The family, occupation, and recreation, right? What are you doing for vacation coming up and whatnot? Social media is going to give you that information to create a rapport with you. So we just kind of process flow on our system, like what's going on with our contacts. What was the last time we communicated with them? Giving us a proactive way of how do I stay in flow with you? Because again, real estate and title have two different sales cycles, so the systems are designed differently. But since you're asking on the real estate side of it, right? And it's important for title executives to understand their referral partners, real estate agents, and lenders. It's really important for title executives to understand their customers or referral partners' sales system. So I think this is just could be really beneficial for your listeners here. 16% of a real estate agent's network transacts every year. 16%. And the person lives in a home for on average between 7 and 10 years. So if you have, say, 200 people in your database that are your network contacts that you're taking care of, you just can't throw names in a system and never look at it. Right? If you're nurturing those contacts, you're looking at anywhere from 32 to 64 transactions in a calendar year. That's 16% if they transact once. A lot of people transact twice. They sell a home and then they buy a home. So it's bringing that awareness to the real estate agents, consciousness, bringing it up and then visually showing them that, and then seeing, well, here's how you have to flow with these individuals consistently over the course of a calendar year, really 2-3 years. You should be doing it in a row to be then, seeing that, hey, I'm capturing 80% of those 32 to 64 transactions. So it's kind of like the Kanban. The Kanban in the Toyota production system was a very simple red and green letter in the to break it down very simply, right? To break it down, like red stop, greens go, and to help them in the production line. Zanello is the exact same thing, just making very simple visual cues for people to understand, where their business is coming from and how they're getting it. And everybody that on the real estate side, 90% plus their businesses, they'll say referrals. That means your network, right? They'll say sphere of influence. Well, that's your network. So most of their business is coming from there. But then you look at a lot of them, they don't have any visual flow, any way of tracking those relationships and how they can squeeze more from that orange.
And how do you keep your team focused and disciplined? You can have all the best tools in the world. Like even like now, it's even getting easier, even scarier with AI. But at the end of the day, you and I were talking yesterday that the human touch, at the end of the day, that's the core of the relationship. And so, how do you keep your team motivated, or you just hire motivated people? I don't believe you can motivate people. Either
You
they are
can't.
motivated or they're not. Yeah, or at least
They're motivated or not,
disciplined.
exactly. And some of the things that I'm going to say, I've heard other places. So you're going to, the listeners hear me say something, it's like I heard that somewhere before because it's where I heard it. But like motivation is like a shower; it's not going to last. It's you have to do it every day. And yeah, there is a big part of drive that's incredibly important. In the title sales side, I really truly think you can, to our listeners that don't have a sales culture or they don't even have a sales department right there, that's not hard to build at all. And that personal drive that you're talking about, Mo, is not so much required as it is on the real estate side. And I could get into that if you want to dig a little bit deeper on that. But how I focus on it is my dashboard. We have what we call the dashboard. I would actually look at that every single day. We have a coaching platform through Zanello, and we just held each other accountable. So if we'd always say, we'll meet you on the 50-yard line. You got to come here. We'll meet you halfway. But if they're willing to engage the time, we could see it, and we're going to see who's engaged and who's not engaged. And so again, just the exact same way I'm answering how I felt myself accountable as a salesperson. I, as a manager, as a leader, I wanted statistics. Say, how often are they a CRM? Where are they at? What's their goal? We had a forecast to where they are, their goal, right? What's in their pipeline? And then we would dialogue with them, sometimes bi-weekly, sometimes monthly, and we'd have real specific conversations about their business, about their communication approach, with where the biggest part of the business is coming from, how they're incubating their particular leads, the lead sources, the percentage of conversion rate on the very particular lead sources. So we were able to have very detailed conversations with each of our individuals because we were able to see what they saw.
How do you see the sales process in the title industry evolving in the next few years? And what disciplines do you believe will be critical for professionals to master in order to thrive in the future? As you know, like that you're talking about,
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna guess the majority of title companies will not have a sales team or a sales department. So it's highly fragmented, especially in the East Coast.
It is. It's cross country, and so we work with large title companies with large sales teams. We work with somebody with just one office, and they don't have a sales team, and we're helping them kind of evolve that. And we could get into that a little bit later on and how that looks. And again, I think it's better to create than recruit there. I think you're going to get more bang for your buck, and you're going to create some really good habits. We created some of the Chicagoland's biggest producers that were never, in the business prior, and they just have got stellar habits that we really instilled. 10 years later, again, now they're some of the biggest producers in the marketplace. So for title companies, like you said, there's a couple things. One, I do not think, I know for a fact that the relationships are not going to go to the wayside. And I don't think people are putting enough emphasis on relationships. I also tell a lot of my clients when I start working with them, Mo, you ever been to London?
Yes. Mind the gap?
Mind the gap. Did we talk about this yesterday?
You said it yesterday, and I was going to say, that sounds like the metro.
Right, the two. Mind the gap. I think to people, technology.
That's funny.
Yeah, I think technology can become an app, a gap.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I will work with title companies. I'll work with their sales organization, and I say, hey, listen, Jimmy Realtor here just got a new listing at X 456 Apple Street. And like, yeah, well, he has got our seller NetSheet app. I'm like, well, let's create one for him. He's like, well, they have the seller NetSheet app. Well, the seller NetSheet app, great tool, but could be a gap, because now you're creating a gap between you and the person you want to create a relationship with. AI in sales, all right? I understand there's AI and how powerful it can be, its potential. Excuse me, I don't understand it, right? I don't know who understands it, but I understand there's huge potential for it. But what does AI stand for, Mo?
Artificial intelligence.
Artificial, right? I don't know a relationship that I have that's artificial. And when we are selling a commodity, which title is a commodity, right? Well, how do we differentiate? We have good service. Well, you better have good service. Everybody has good service. What's your true differentiator?
Yeah.
You're expected to, correct? What's your true differentiator? It's the relationship that you have with the individual. So, like, again, everybody's, there's always the new shiny object, and what can we do? And I just tell everybody, hey, mind the gap. Don't create a gap between you and your customer that's too big. And it's great to automate and do all these things. But somebody who comes in your marketplace that could forge a relationship with human beings that you want referrals from, and you're not doing it, you're going to lose your business to that person. I think organizations that don't have a sales culture, and I'm taking salesperson, the sales culture are under a massive threat right now, and they have to be like the days of just doing really great title work and great service. Those days are coming to an end. More, you know, affiliated businesses and whatnot are coming into the marketplace. So we have to start to pivot and become, focused on what is our revenue and our market share plan, in addition to our compliance and our operations and our security.
So what's let's say it's first things first. Let's say you don't have a sales culture, you don't have a sales team. What can a title company owner or managers do to start a sales culture or to build a sales culture?
It's going to come straight back to that visual flow. Who are your customers? Where is the majority of your business coming from? Is it 20 individuals, 50 individuals? Who are they? So that's the first thing, right? And the second thing is the easiest place to grow your business is from your existing business. And I cannot tell you how many companies that I'm working with that are just not paying attention to that non-directing agent. And I don't care if you're in a market where there's split orders or not. There are ways for you. Everybody's looking, how do I get that door open? Every title transaction has 4 to 6 weeks. That's 4 to 6 touches. Again, I don't care if it's a split order and you are on the sell side, the listing side, and there's a buyer's agent and they're with a different title company. You still have an opportunity to talk to somebody about the most important part of their life, who's a real estate agent, is their actual transaction, even if it's on the other side, giving them simple updates. And I'm going to say, please, you have the human give the update, right? With the text message. Let's not try to over automate because, us real estate agents, and I'm a real estate agent, we're smart. We know what's a drip campaign. We know what's an automated text. It's like, mind the gap, right? It's not, it's simple, right? It's not easy, and it takes work. And if it was simple and if it was easy, well, then all those human beings out there that are responsible for sales, we wouldn't have a role. We wouldn't have a job. So be thankful for that as well, that it's simple. It's just not easy. And it takes work. And it's just getting everybody to understand, hey, what is your job? What's your role? Now, to get into your question, right, for a company that doesn't have, right, a sales team, well, first, let's build a sales culture, right? And let's know our numbers. And then how do we create a process? And that process is not complicated. In fact, I flow charted it all out through Zanello. How do we work 5 days a week, right? In a couple hours a day on this flow chart. It's like a river, right? After a while, it's going to just start to carve out and you're going to start seeing massive results, but you got to put time into it. You got to put a good year to 18 months into it, but you'll all of a sudden pivot from reactive and what's coming our way to say, well, we know what's coming our way and we have a percentage increase we're expecting next year because we're targeting these 200 people. If we could capture 5 to 10% of those relationships based on these transactions, we can get this. It changes everything from licking your fingers and putting your, hand in the air, see which way the wind's directed to KPIs, right? Metrics that are incredibly important that are very rarely discussed in the sales side of our business in our industry, mortgage, title, and real estate. We need to treat, in my opinion, that part of the business just like we are treating the operations and the finance side of our business and the compliance side of our business.
Yeah, as they say, like sales is the oxygen of every organization, and I've always been focused on sales for better or worse. Like I'm more of a sales guy at heart.
Yeah.
So, but it's literally there are no sales. There's no business at the end of the day.
Well, and then sales is, you can systematize and process the sales, whether you're an agent or you're entitled. You could process, right? You could process orient how you create a relationship, and a sale is just a byproduct of your relationship, period.
Absolutely.
Right? So let's go to the NAR settlement. Okay. And in one of the things that I was reading on, they're saying people cannot comprehend why the percentage of real estate agents' income has not decreased with the social media, online, and everything over the course of 20 years. And hence the DOJ gets involved and everything else. Well, we're in a free market still, I think, right? And the consumer values the real estate agent. And what is the value that the real estate agent is providing to the consumer? It's emotional intelligence at the end of the day, right? All the thousands of customers I've served, I'm talking about their family, why they're moving, where they're moving, what they want to do. It's not just filling out a contract and taking them to homes. It's a consultative sales approach, and it's based. They worked with me or any of my agents because they had a relationship with us, and the consumer is willing to pay for that, and they still are going to be willing to pay for that. It is, but it's the relationship. So you need to, whether you're in sales in real estate or you're in title, you need to focus what amount of time and energy am I putting on investing in the relationship with these amount of individuals, because when they have the need, 9 out of 10 times, at the low end, 8 out of 10 times, they're going to come to their friend. They're going to come to the person that they're in a relationship. I remember in 2015, 16, 17, saying to one of a group of our agents, I say, you guys, I think the coolest app out there is Redfin. I don't even worry about a website as a real estate broker. I had it, right? But because my clients will go to the Redfin app or Zillow, then they'll call me and say, can I see this home? Why? Because of the emotional intelligence I invested in the relationship. And because of the relationship, a byproduct is just a sale that I have. That is the same in any consultative-based type of sale.
Absolutely. You touched on consultative selling. I'm very big on consultative selling, thanks to our mutual good friend, the Dr. Cindy McGovern. She instilled that in my head like years ago. So,
and you know what? She's brilliant. And I was listening to her podcast with you. And by the way, I've been diving into your podcast and been loving it.
Thank you.
But one of the things that Cindy said in the podcast that I just loved, she said, you got to track communication and see the client journey. She's right.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, yeah.
Yeah. You said earlier, like some title companies, like, hey, we do good service or great service. What you expected to be in a game, you have to have excellent service. So,
right.
As a kind of to add to that, what's the best consultative selling for? What's the best advice to give title agents from the realtor perspective? What kind of value can you add as a title agent instead of like, hey, we have the best service. Hey, let me take you to lunch. Let me buy you coffee. Let me do whatever those gimmicky things or tactics.
So all those things count, right? And I'm going to give you some other gimmicky things that work. So the first step is focus on creating relationships with somebody. So let's start with the existing business that we have. I have a title order. Let's say it's a full order, and it came from a listing agent. And the listing agent I could see represented 14 sellers in the last 12 months. We're in a sell side market right now, for my example. There's buy sides. Again, we'd only have a certain amount of time in the podcast, so I'm not going to dive into like in Chicago, the attorneys. I'm not going to get out. Just say we have a list side, and the listing agent brought us a deal, right? But then the buyer's agent, you said, wait a minute, this buyer's agent's got 5 active listings, 3 deals under contract, and they represented 8 sellers in the last 12 months. Well, they actually are having an uptick in business. I could see that right away. That's why these visual cues, this visual flow, this Kanban is so critical. So then how do I start to bridge the gap? First, hey, buyer's agent Joe, I'm Ryan. Congratulations on your buyer. Hey guys, look at the contract. Look at the contract that came in, right? And you're going to see the buyer's name there. Use that name, referencing it to that buyer's agent. What's the most important to that buyer's agent is the address, right? Because it's going to bring it up to their conscious, and that buyer's name. Hey, buyer's agent Billy, congratulations, your buyer's the Callahan's at 456 Apple Street. That is great. Just want to let you know I'm the title executive on this deal. If at any time you have any questions, this is my cell phone. Reach out to me at any time. I'm doing that in a simple text. Yes, there's all these automated systems that could do this, but I want to create a relationship with that buyer agent Joe, right? Who's got 5 active listings. He represented 8 sellers in the last 12 months. He's got 3 under contract. That's incredibly important to me. Now, I'm going to then use sources like a property report. You could get it from a Title Pro or a data trace, right? I'm going to generate a property report. It's simple, not a full in-depth property report. And I'm going to send them a property report on one of those properties, right? Plus a seller net sheet that I'm going to create. And then I'm going to use this verbiage here. Hey, Buyer Joe, it's Ryan. We're working together on 456 Apple Street. This is like 2-3 weeks later. We're still in the transaction, right? So remember, I'm trying to germinate a relationship here. I got 4 to 6 weeks during the, I want to say loaning process, during the title transaction side of it. And then I got a good year, 2 years to court the person afterwards. But in that 4 to 6 week journey, right, as Cindy talks about, right, 2 weeks after, my initial text introducing and giving my cell phone, say, hey, I just saw 456 Apple Street. Here's a property report. If you have any questions on this, feel free to reach out to me. By the way, if you're going on a listing presentation, if you'd like this information, feel free to reach out to me. I'll get this information for you. Also, I included a seller net sheet. The seller net sheet is based upon your listing and the asking price. If you get an offer on this property, feel free to reach out to me. I'll update it with the offer price that you got, and I'll give you 2 other options, right? And that way, I'm starting to create a mold, right? A bond with somebody, and somebody's going to take me up on that. And then now we're jiving.
Yeah. Yes.
But now we have a relationship. Now I don't even really have to worry about the rapport building you started to create. That's the differentiator. When that happens, I know I'm going to get that person. And then somebody will say, well, I don't want them calling me on Saturday for a seller net sheet. I get it. But
yeah,
I'm going to
do
it.
As I said, you have to be strategic. You can't just be tactical. Like that's very kind of intentional, very strategic. And it's there's touch points and added value every touch point. Then when you ask for a coffee, when you ask me that person, there's probably 95% chance they're going to say yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I've noticed if you do this good well enough, you don't even need to ask for the coffee. You start getting business. It's like now maintain the report. That's what I do like Mo. Like I'm not a huge social media fan. What I do like about social media is that I can maintain relationships. I'm not, but I can maintain relationships with 200-300 people. I don't have to have my reels. I'm not a big poster, right? I think I posted my daughter went to college the other day, but like I'm not doing that stuff, and I never did. But I always had successful business because I was able to see what they're posting about, and I was able to connect with them.
Yeah, it's the mistake majority of people make in real estate, mortgage, title is I think they post for the sake of posting to make them feel significant versus added value. And I'll challenge anybody. There may be some influencers that at a certain level they can drive sales. But it's really, it's all about kind of building that brand. People know who you are, but you still have to go and build that relationship one-on-one. You still have to make a call. You still, exactly.
Yeah. You can have all the content in the world, but if you're not connecting, you're not going to convert. So you got to think of the 3 C's: content, connect, convert. Most people are doing content and they're leaving away the other 2 C's. Well, then don't even do the content if you're not doing the other 2 C's.
Do you mind if we switch over to the NAR again? The lawsuit and the impact? So what's your perspective on, I know you touched on it a little briefly. What do you see coming? What's the future of, especially the buyer agent side? And after that, I'm going to ask you what the impact of how title companies can be proactive and kind of prepare for all the changes coming up.
Yeah. I feel my heart today. My wife still connected with real estate agents across the country, right? And I had, over the course of my 10 years, 1,000 real estate agents coming in and out of my doors over the course of 10 years. So I'm very connected in the business. I personally think what's going to happen is there are trend chasers, right? And people that come in and come out, those people will always, whenever the market dips or goes up and down, they get in and they get out of business. In 2008, the Great Recession happened in Chicago. I think we had 40,000 real estate agents in the Chicago Association of Realtors. By 2011, we had 27,000. And by 2022, 2021, it was back up to 40,000, right? So you're going to have those people that are just kind of fickle. They'll come in out. That being said, I don't think we're going to see much of a change except for how people do the work and that they send the buyer agreements, the things that they have to follow according to the settlement. But the consumer still wants the service. And until we are no longer a free market, until we're no longer a consumer free market, our demand is not, when I say I'm not a real estate agent anymore, but real estate agents demand is created by the consumer. It's not the other way around. It's not how free markets work. And so I just think for people, keep your nose down, okay? Focus on the most important part of your business, which is nurturing those relationships. Those conversations I've watched because my wife's an agent, they're not difficult to have. And I think it will just work itself out, quite honestly, Mo.
And does that affect title companies in any way, or besides being diligent and watching out for
I
your own
don't.
business?
I don't. There's always going to be distractions. There's always going to be things. It's like we got to keep our nose down and focus. Again, the person or the title company, right? The title executive, the title agent, the real estate agent, the loan officer that prioritizes their relationships with the individuals that generate business for them. The ones that prioritize that and focus on it during the past 12 months of noise we've had and the next 12 months of noise, they're the ones that are going to come out on top. And the other ones that are kind of wringing their hands and worrying about it, they're wasting precious time worrying about something that I don't think there's going to be changes, right? But I don't think it's going to be a seismic shift in the business at all.
That's awesome. Can we shift to Zanello? What kind of inspired you to launch the? I know you said you told me yesterday it was a bootstrapped, and very proud of you. And kind of taking a huge leap. I'm all about taking the leap.
Yeah.
And a strong belief in the vision that you have.
What inspired me is I needed a place to show people visually. I had to visually teach people. And everything that I've seen from real estate to mortgage to title, let's call it off the shelf, which I guess I'm an off the shelf product now, right? It's all about marketing, marketing, marketing. And it's all about wowing you. Mine is kind of hard work. Mine's, if you work on mine, after some time, it's going to start releasing dopamine and get you excited, but it's not going to give you the dopamine that a pretty cool, sexy new CRM with all the bells and whistles are going to give you. That's not going to produce the stuff. So I had to teach, individuals, this is the sales cycle. This is the process. This is how it works. And going back to the previous industry that I was in, and I was recruiting, supply chain, manufacturing, folks that had their black belts in Six Sigma, and I learned so much from that business and started reading up on it. I recognized there is no visual flow product out there for salespeople like there is for QuickBooks, for accountants, right? Or any other accounting software that might be, or TPS systems, right? Where is your salespeople's TPS system? Where is it? And then, so like, if you, as running a title company, you look at your TPS, what are you looking at for sales? That should scare you if you don't have something to see that. You're like, holy cow, then you're telling me I went to my first NS3 event, 2 years ago. I saw every operating system and everything else under the sun. Where's the forward-facing, proactive sales tools out there? So that's what inspired me when I started my company. Like, I got to teach people how to sell because I'm not going to recruit. How do you say my name, Mo? I don't even know, right? And I didn't have a brand name. Like, it's the April, right? That's the joke for any listeners, like, what the hell did you just say there? But the point is I'm in Chicago, and I built one of the largest real estate brokerages without a franchise or a well-known brand name. It was my last name. I didn't really think it through. Next thing we know, not next thing, 10 years later, I think in 2022, we did just under 1.3 billion in transactions. And again, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, 80% of my agents, started with me. Probably 80% of them had less than 5 years experience at that time when we did over $1 billion of sales. So I needed something to train and to teach people. And that's where Zanello came from. That's what inspired me to kind of take it to the next level.
No, that's you're right on the money. Like, our industry is so minuscule. Like, it's 20-30 billion a year. It's like literally no big players pay attention to it. That's why, like, there's a lot of focus on real estate, a lot of focus on mortgage, but not title. And you're 100% correct. There's definitely a need of the product that you. From what I saw yesterday, I'm getting very excited, and like you talk about TPS, like I'm gonna keep them nameless. The one of the dominant player, like in the industry, like butting heads, like, hey, when are you gonna have a CRM? When are you gonna have more like a sales-driven kind of dashboards? Like the stuff we're talking about, it's stuff you're doing, and literally it's at the bottom of their priorities. So, and it
Well,
takes
yeah,
somebody innovative like you.
well, it is, it's, I look at myself as I'm a sales coach. And so I process mapped it out so that you can actually scale it. And I work with individuals like, look, you don't have a sales crew. That's okay. We're going to start very slow. And this is a scalable. And then I have large organization. I'm like, here's how you could scale even more by doing this because it is a training. It's a training tool as much as it is anything else. But that's a longer conversation, Mo, that I could show you.
That's awesome. I'm
There's
looking
a
forward
lot.
to.
There's a lot to it.
I'm looking for future conversations one-on-one, and maybe meeting you in person in Chicago.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next question, we're getting very close to wrapping this up. For those looking to take the leap in their sales career within the title industry, what advice would you give on maintaining discipline, staying motivated, and consistently driving growth in challenging market?
For those starting their careers in it, you asked me?
Yes, correct.
The first thing you have to conquer is yourself. I mean, that's really what it is. And that's never going to end in your life. It's mindset and it's discipline. It's like people value money more than they value time. And that is the majority of us, and the majority of us are not wealthy. The wealthy value their time more than they value money. And so you are never going to get your time back. And what anybody who's listening to this has to understand is like, majority of us are just wasting so much valuable time on Sharma. Gosh, I think is Robin Sharma. I may be butchering his name. He's got an awesome saying is, I like to be busy being productive versus busy being busy. Most people are just busy being busy. So if you could control your schedule, if you could control your 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., and you could focus that on you, and I'm not talking about the gym time and the self-healing and caring time that we do from 6 in the morning to 9. I'm talking about the career, right? If you could time block, that 2 hours of the relationship nurturing part of your business, which is the most important part, and then you could get over to because customer service is going to come naturally. We're going to call a client's going to call us. We're going to call our processor. We're going to call our order entry people. That's natural. There's no fakeness that needs to come into that. It's important, right? But we all do it. You have to have a mirror that you could look into and say, what am I doing, and how am I managing my time? That's the best advice I can give anybody. And it's anybody getting into the business or anybody who's mid-career or towards the end of the career. It doesn't end. It's like, you are your work in progress.
It's the adage of how do you fill the glass? So you put the rocks, the big rocks, then middle rocks, then put the foundational things, the most important things, like the higher producing dollar activities first, then you trickle to the servicing or talk.
Right, and don't be hard on yourself. We all. I don't have it perfected. Nobody does. Like, also give yourself some space. Like, be aware of your self-talk. I mean, I'm brutal to myself. Like, I noticed, like, this morning I was at the gym and I'm just ripping myself apart. Like, we're all doing this. We're all in the same boat. Mm-hmm. It's like, you got to take it easy on yourself and celebrate the small. I worked a half an hour. I'd say, kick ass. Congratulations. Doesn't have to be 2 hours. Block 2 hours. Get a half an hour production out of it. Great. Good for you. And then celebrate that. Stop beating yourself up. And that's talking to myself more than anybody else.
All right. Do you have a favorite quote, Ryan?
So I have two that I like. One is, and I started saying this quote a long time ago. I don't remember where I heard it from. Everything, I say I'm repeating from somebody wiser than me that I learned from. A year from now, you may wish you started today. A year from now, you may wish you started today. And everybody overestimates what they can achieve in a year, and they underestimate what they can achieve in a decade. And those two quotes, Mo, go to grit. And grit is so important to the success of your career. Because you're going to get punched in the face, in the gut. You're going to get knocked down. You got to get back up. We all experience failure a lot more than we experience success. And those two expressions or sayings relate to grit. A year from now, you may wish you start today. And everybody overestimates what they can achieve in a year, but they underestimate what they can achieve in a decade. You got to stick with it, man. It's important.
How about a favorite book or books? And I have an idea, one or two are going to come up, but
Well, so I mentioned those two. So a book that so instead of the two that I mentioned, the E-Myth and the Toyota Way, which are not my favorite, they're great books, but one of my favorite books, business books, obviously, is The Happiness Advantage by Sean Aker. Have you read it?
no. This is why I asked this question, so for books to listen to.
Yeah, he's a Harvard professor in psychology. It's a great story from Texas, wanted to be a firefighter. Happened to go to Harvard, so clearly he's a brilliant guy. And he held a class on happiness. And he discovered he had a waiting list at Harvard for his class. And he discovered like 75%, after doing some more studies, like 75% of the student body at Harvard was depressed. Like, here are the people in the top 1% that every door is going to be opened to, but they're comparing themselves to everybody else. And this is a trap we all fall into it. I still fall into it regularly. And so The Happiness Advantage is like, gosh, I think I'm going to pull that book out and read it again. It's just such a great book about, one of the things that Sean says and is people think happiness orbits success. It's the other way around. Success orbits happiness, and you got to be happy first. So kind of to the point where it's like, you got to be easy on yourself. You got to celebrate your wins. Hey, this stuff's not easy, right? This human experience we're having is not easy. So that's one of my favorite books.
I'm not sure if you're a Tony Robbins fan or not, but in a couple months I'm going this happiness retreat with Tony Robbins Platinum Club.
I've never done it. I've done a Tony Robbins. So I have a lot of people have done it, and I've never done it. So happiness retreat, it's called, huh? That's great.
Yeah. So it's just in line with your book. So I cannot wait to read that book.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Ryan. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Title Agents Podcast. I hope you found our conversation with Ryan Aprile as insightful and inspiring as I did. If you enjoyed today's discussion, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We've got some exciting topics and incredible guests lined up for future episodes, including deep dives into innovative sales strategies, cutting-edge technologies shaping the title industry, and actionable tips to help you stay ahead in this ever-evolving market. Stay tuned, and let's take the leap together towards greater success and growth. See you next time.
In a world where change is the only constant, Choumil stands at the forefront, guiding title professionals to not just grow their businesses, but to master the art of innovation. With every episode, you're handed the keys to unlock unparalleled growth and stay ahead of the curve. Get ready for a transformative journey